hate it will bring crash. Oh my God. Oh, but see, the one cool thing is crypto is still crazy. Okay, like people are extremely opinionated. Crash, I hear we are top of the league everywhere I go. So it feels nice to be an Arsenal fan, even when you're traveling and not. Finally, it's good to be here, and also in the middle of this crypto conference circuit. It's good that I've been able to find some time to chat with you. How are things at home?
Good, man. Good. I'm still in India. I missed ETH Denver this time, but yes, keeping tabs on all the footy. Time to dust my jersey off, I think.
Oh
Uh,
man,
but no, it's been
Wa-
good.
was
It's
your
been good.
was the decision not to come to ETH Denver like work or personal related, or did you like genuinely plan to skip
No,
the
no, I
event?
didn't plan to skip. I wanted to be there. I was there last year. It was great. It's more personal than work related.
Mm, yeah, I have done. I've ticked all my boxes. Landed at the conference day, picked up the ETH Denver COVID variant, which seems to be doing the rounds right now.
I got
Um,
it last time, and I was telling you, right? So, altitude
yeah,
sickness is a real thing. I landed in Denver, and like 6 hours later, I was in the gym, just like doing some running. Then it hit me really hard, right? And because it's altitude, I should not have done that. I should have taken time to acclimatize, which I did not. Most people don't when you land up for a conference, right? So,
I
so it
landed.
must have hit you as well.
I did like three meetups the second I landed in ETH Denver. So went to the ZK Hacker House, then went to the Sui Hacker House, and then some VC party in the night. And then I think the next day morning is when I'm like, hey, hold on, you haven't slept. And this is
Yeah.
not normal. And oh yeah, surprisingly, the first time I came to the US was with Prash. If you, do you remember that, Prash?
Was that your first time?
That was my first time,
Oh
2018.
wow. Okay. Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
reveal too many details here
Damn
about
it.
that trip,
But
but it was
yeah,
awesome.
I don't deal with jet lag very well, and the same thing
Yeah,
happened there.
yeah.
Was that
So,
also a crypto
so
event? 2018?
Yeah, yes, consensus. Yeah,
consensus.
when consensus happened in New York and not in Austin.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So,
yeah,
how
good
was it
times.
Denver, man? How was it Denver?
Depends on which day you landed. If you came between 24th to 1st, then ETH Denver would have been a blast.
Hmm.
1st to 5th, ETH Denver was a trade show.
So,
So,
pre-conference was better than the conference, you mean?
and even during the conference, I think where it was really at was at the hacker houses. So I did 4 hacker houses there, and I found myself going back to those hacker houses a lot more than the conference itself.
Which
Conference
ones were
was good.
these?
So there was the ZK Hacker House, which the Questbook guys were doing, then the
Mm-hmm.
Sui Hacker House, which obviously the Sui team, Sozu House by Mantle, and Pit by Jump and Encode Club.
Yeah,
Pit, I obviously frequented a lot more because Builder Stripe demo day happened there, which was,
yeah.
by the way, like I'm not saying it because it's a Builder Stripe demo day, but it was one of the best demo days that I have seen.
Hmm.
Like a room full of who's who of crypto in terms of investors were there, name this one dude, okay, uh, comes wearing like this hoodie and shorts in the
Hmm.
Denver winter. He's chilling in the front row over there, and then everyone was like talking to like everyone was going to the variants and the fabrics and the super scripts and hash key, all of these big VCs that everybody was like kind of quoting. This dude is just sitting there alone. I went to check with him, dude, what's your scene? I was like, my dad was a big hedge fund manager. He had a 10-figure dollar exit. I just manage his money right now. I can't invest in equities and securities, so we LP into cryptos. So I'm just looking at all the all the VCs. They're like, dude, an LP has come here. Nobody is giving him bomb, and everybody's like going around these VCs. So
Good.
uh,
I'm pinging you offline for an intro.
I knew you would do it. But no, that dude is like extremely smart. He's like super smart, right? Like all the questions that we would ask as operators, that dude was
Yeah.
asking the founders. And he wasn't revealing too much as to who he is and all that, okay? But then separately we went out, it's like, I was seeing you, what do you do? And then when he told his story, I was like, what the fuck? He's a son, okay? Managing
Yeah.
his money. All sorts of weird stuff I saw there. But yeah, teams wise, I think all the cringe of ETH Denver apart, which I actually like, okay.
Did you see the
Which
cringe?
we
Like that cringe
yeah,
this thing?
I missed it. I missed it by like 5 minutes. But then but tell you what, I don't mind it, man. Like it's fine. I think that the whole point of crypto was to be slightly different and not suits and ties, right? No offense, Prash, but right, like it's
No,
supposed
look
to
at
be
this podcast.
right. No, but you get my point, right? Like
Yeah.
it's fine. Not the biggest fan of Gabriel Haynes and all of these chaps, but at the same time, it supposed to be a place which allows everybody an equal voice, and if people are there to listen to it, go ahead
Yeah.
and do that. I don't see why you should dump your ETH just because somebody made a cringy song about
Was
all the
that
scams.
the cringest thing that you saw?
There were many other things, but I cannot expose them in this podcast. But um, there were many cringy instances.
Yeah, to be
At
honest, I
least
don't mind. I don't mind these things either, man. I mean, crypto should learn not to judge.
wow, well, really well said, dude. It's really well said, and that's what I felt kept me going back to the hacker houses, right? Because everybody,
Yeah.
like the Jump Hacker House, day one, Stanny came. Day two, Juan Bennett was there. Stanny, for those who know, is Aves founder, Lens Protocols founder. Juan Bennett's the founder of Filecoin. All of these guys, you can see, right? Like in the trade show setting, everyone's like, hovering around them, trying to do business with these guys. In the hacker house setting, these guys are just chilling with other builders. Okay, what are you doing? Have you thought of this? Actually sitting and coding with somebody with them. And I feel like that was the crypto that got me excited and had me stay for all the years that I
Yeah.
have. And I got to see that in the hacker houses. And probably if I come back to ETH Denver next year, it will be the same sort of things that I hit up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been to like so many conferences across US, Dubai, Singapore, Korea. I invariably don't spend any time within the actual conference itself. It's mostly, in meetups around, in hacker houses, in like arranging meetings with people you want to meet. The actual conference itself, no one, like at least I would spend very little time on. So Raghu, like in all of these things, right? Could you kind of identify like 3 or 4 raging themes that you thought were very prevalent? From a text standpoint or even from a narrative standpoint that you thought were like catching more of the eye?
Yeah, a couple of things really stood out to me. I think one, the day I landed rather, was when the Optimism and Base partnership was announced, where essentially I mean, the way I saw it was that you have all the cool things about the usability aspects and the on-ramps and off-ramps that Coinbase could get you. And then the Optimism roll-ups functionality within the layer 2 that
Yep.
Optimism got you. And that as a tech solution alone was very interesting. And then one of our guests, Arjun, if you remember, Arjun Kalsi from Mantle, was speaking exactly about this on our podcast, where he said
Yep.
that two treasuries combining together, where one entirely focused on tech and one entirely focused on adoption and usability, was something that Mantle is trying to do separately. That seems to be the exact route that Optimism and Base seems to be going into. So there was a lot of chatter around that offering. The Given, even though it was an ETH conference, the raging debate on whether ordinals is something that we want was very, very prevalent to see.
Yeah.
And I get both sides of the argument. The only thing that tips it towards the hey, leave Bitcoin alone, conversation was the fact that Satoshi himself said that this is why sidechains exist. don't put everything on the same blockchain. It does not scale. I think colored coins, for example, was one of the reasons why it branched out as its own chain, was this very reason. And now to kind of see ordinals going through that entire same discussion is almost feels like history repeating itself. But the BTC, I feel like the maxis have a point, right? Like it is reliable because it's boring. Don't try to make something so exciting. Don't make it exciting. And on the other hand, the criticism from the ETH guys has always been that, hey, what does BTC do, right? So
Yeah. Before you go, right? So these 2 points, just dissecting them a bit more. So base and optimism coming together, I think it's great, in line with what Kalsi also told us. It's, I think, a big pro for modular architecture,
yes,
because OP stack right now is the base builds on OP stack. OP stack goes a lot more into the modular side as well over a period of time. It becomes VM agnostic as well. So base can kind of not be just a roll up like an Optimism or an Arbitrum, but it can be much wider than that, and it has
yeah,
its user base of like 100 million plus that it can bring on.
yeah,
I'm not particularly bullish on base just yet, because it's very exciting that you have a user base behind you, but it always comes down to what type of dApps build on top of it and what type of incentives you're giving your first set of users to come and try this out, right? And without a take on, that incentive kind of goes missing. So and with the regulatory burden, I'm not very sure how much can Coinbase push the envelope either, right? So the waits to be seen. So I'm very cautious and not as optimistic as everyone else, right? Ordinals, I have like a completely different view, not in terms of like what you're saying, in that to me, Bitcoin has an existentialism crisis right now. Okay. Not coming from the fact of people holding Bitcoin or Bitcoin wanting to serve its purpose, but because of the fact that blockchain primary utility is to secure demand for its block space. Okay. And with Bitcoin, that is significantly missing. And the entire disinflationary token incentives of Bitcoin is all priced in, right? So unless the price of Bitcoin keeps going up, the incentive for miners to secure the network keeps diminishing over a period of time. So if you introduce something like an ordinals, and if you increase the demand for block space, the transaction velocity increases on Bitcoin, and the diversification for the utility happens automatically, right? This has got nothing to do with ETH, in my opinion. This is just, I think, a natural progression of people within Bitcoin. Also, they have to realize that this is where Bitcoin becomes more secure over a period of time. Because it's so volatile, it has not got yet into a state where it can be used for transactions, right? And that I don't think will happen for at least another couple of decades, in my opinion. So this then is a very good way for them to secure demand for block space, which is imperative. So that's how I like to think of it.
I mean, so long as it is considered as a stopgap to reach BTC's original vision, it makes sense. But hear me out, right? Like, I think the way we look at blockchains has to be considered pre and post Ethereum, right? BTC, the product is the asset. The product is Bitcoin, and the blockchain essentially serves to help that asset function and solidifies and makes its rules, makes its rules immutable. So the product is a token, a monetary system that hedges against poorly designed monetary systems around the world. And its adoption may be in line with these poorly designed monetary systems failing and looking at BTC as a hedge towards it. This seems to be happening in a lot of countries as such, and the blockchain essentially enforces the fact that this asset will behave in this particular way, right? So that to me is the first thing to keep in mind, right? The second the second thing is your definition of how blockchains work seems like a post Ethereum conversation, which is the fact that the chain exists. There are multiple purposes that you can do that you can build on top of it. So does BTC have a existential crisis? Your minor argument definitely makes sense, and as a stopgap, I see why until that original purpose is fulfilled. If this keeps the miners incentivized to keep contributing to the network, I see the sense in that. But this still doesn't take away the fact that if this becomes popular, what happens to the underlying system itself, right? And
see again, you need a lot of protocol level upgrades for this to proliferate itself on the main layer, right? Base layer. So
Yeah.
I am assuming if this takes off, then you will get a lot more like roll-up type of situations in Bitcoin, where a lot of these ordinal type of things move more to like side chains or I don't know layer 2s, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping most of the block space on the layer 1 can still be at some point brought back to its original purpose. But I'm saying, see, at the end of the day, it's decentralized, it's open source, etc. Right? Having had a particular notion 10 years ago, it's very difficult to stick to it, even if you are romantically attached to this chain, because it's open source. Someone else can come and do something else. How do you stop it, right? And the only way you stop it is then trying to censor it. And if you then do it, then what's the purpose of Bitcoin?
Then the purpose is gone. Oh, I get that. And one of the good things that can happen out of this is alternatives to Blockstream that come in and start contributing to BTC because it's now financially viable, right? Which, if you think about it, like when you said that, oh, now more developer activity will happen there, is like who does it? Who's the Ethereum Foundation equivalent? And for BTC, it's Blockstream, which seems to be almost solely focused on Lightning right now.
And Draper. No, Draper House is like, they have like a Bitcoin section altogether. They have been waiting for a moment like this, in my opinion, right?
Right.
So, see, there are a lot more whales holding Bitcoin than there are holding Ethereum, and with a lot of influence as well, right? So,
no, it's not for the lack of money. It's never for the lack of money.
Did you see a lot of hacker house activity around Bitcoin?
No.
But not at ETH Denver, right? It would not happen at ETH Denver. Yeah, that's something I'm interested. You'll probably see a lot of it if it's happening, I'm assuming, from now.
What was the view on, say, Yuga Labs launching 12-fold on Bitcoin Ordinals? Were people talking about that in any way?
Not at an ETH conference. And just to say, Prash, I think all the BTC stuff seems to be happening in Costa Rica right now, in Costa Rica. So we have a few friends who are sitting down there, and I think we're getting some. I'll have some gen about what's actually happening there. But
I'm very curious about Bitcoin chain much more than I ever was. I'm romantically attached to the ethos, but I'm like, as a venture guy, I'm like, this is more secure and more decentralized than Ethereum, right? It has a scaling problem, which Ethereum has also had, but it has users, it has everything that it needs, right? If Bitcoin becomes more programmable, then it is a great place for a venture guy to look into. So I'm coming from that mindset to an extent. I'm sorry, it's a bit capitalistic on my side, but
Akash, just cut that bit and promote it, okay?
that's the first clip of the show. That's the hook that brings people in.
Oh my God, the hate it will bring, Prash. Oh my God. Well, but see, the one cool thing is crypto is still crazy. Okay, like people are extremely opinionated. People hold on to their points of view, and people, coexist despite those point of view. So that bit honestly hasn't changed.
So one was any other interesting themes you have been noticing?
Yeah. Move seems to be the new solidity.
Really?
As I see, the reason I say it's not the new Rust is because Rust has always existed. Before this, it was a very robust programming language. It had its own community that just found application in blockchains as well. But and I've seen blockchain specific languages kind of coming up and going down. If you remember our friends at Eternity who had written their own language called Sophia, and the guys at Zilliqa who wrote a language called Skilla, which was which was supposed to be like a bug resistant smart contracting language. All of these things came and went, but at the Sui Hacker House and almost every third investor that I was meeting is like, hey, is there any interest in Move in your Builder Stripe community? What does India think about Move? It's like, oh my God, they're really trying to make this a thing. And then when you go to the Sui Hacker House, you see some really cool stuff that is being built on it. I generally lost interest in Move the day Facebook dropped Calibra and all of their blockchain facing DM and all of their blockchain facing things. And then kind of I thought, okay, what will happen to Aptos and Sui, that was kind of pushing their narrative on it. But by the looks of it, it seems like they're trying to make Move the next Solidity for blockchain, and there was a massive narrative around that.
Interesting.
And then there was one more thing that I did want to talk about.
ZK account abstraction.
Yeah, not account abstractions, not so much. And I think there's really a good conversation to talk about with all of these wallet as a service type of plays that are coming out right now.
Hey, we should bring Aniket on. We should bring Aniket on. They are at the forefront of account abstraction, and they're embedding into a lot of wallets as well.
He will have a lot to say about this. I met him. We had a good sit down in Denver. But the ZK conversation is good. I think everybody is looking at ZK as a blockchain narrative. It's actually I don't think ZK has anything to do with blockchain. It perhaps you can make the proof immutable, but it's not necessary. I think it's as a math concept, it works just fine. And there is some really cool there's some really cool what do you say use cases that, like, for example, one hack that I saw was a ZK block explorer. Okay, now on the surface of it, what does it do? But when you understand that essentially it is like a rework of a math problem to arrive at a particular proof to prove a state on the other side without knowing other attributes, right? And each proof is different to everything else, and kind of presenting that in a block explorer method was very nice to see. So the ZK conversation is nice. I don't know if I should share this here, but I will share it later. There was a non-EVM believer who who laid out actually pretty compelling arguments for why EVM is probably not a thing. I'll tell you, the line that he said was, sure, non-EVM chains stop, but at the same time, high gas fees on EVM chains is another way of a chain stopping. And for 2 seconds, the EVM gang that was standing around him were just like looking, and maybe he has a point there, like. And then no, EVM decentralized. Okay.
One of the things we were chatting about before is like wallets, right? And there were like two major wallet announcements, at least from where we were sitting in India. One was Robinhood releasing the waitlist for their wallet. Uniswap launched their own wallet, although there's some problems with Apple there. Was that a big theme at ETH Denver?
Yes, there was a lot of conversation around wallets from the incumbents, the guys who are building new stuff. I think just after ETH Denver, Coinbase also announced wallet as a service right now, which essentially becomes the equivalent of auth in the Web2 world now, via wallets in Web3. So it is a large conversation, but I think something that we were chatting about offline is, is the wallet a business or is it a public good, right? Or does it serve as a top of the funnel for other business services that work out? So I think from the venture standpoint, wallets weren't as hot. But given that this whole account abstraction conversation has come in, wallets, I think, will become a part of every dApp stack, which performs certain things that are specific to the dApp itself. And you use account abstraction features to perhaps make the user experience better, or you use a managed wallet service like the ones that are being launched right now that not only give you all the features that you want, but also come with their own user base. But yeah, Prash, I'm interested to know, right, like, how has wallet as an investing thesis for you changed over the last 2 years or so?
Massively, right? So we actually don't look at wallets anymore as just a standalone product. Even these two examples, Robinhood and Uniswap, are companies who have identified that product market fit and in specific in the case of Uniswap, are now launching a wallet to kind of integrate more and keep their user base more ring fenced, right? So then, but that's not investable again for us, right? It's how do you invest into that? It's a Uniswap wallet. So yeah, we've been from a venture standpoint, we haven't invested in any wallet in the last 18 months, to be honest. And wallet to me again is a user onboarding. If you're just launching a new wallet, then it's difficult to monetize. There are way too many wallets out there, and then it becomes more of a game of BD and distribution, and how do you like become a funnel for like a huge number of users to go get into Web3 to your through your wallet, right? And how do you convince me as a venture that you will be able to do that? It's very difficult. So yeah, I personally struggled from a venture standpoint on wallets.
Yeah, but you can still see a lot of builder activity around it, but this is kind of limited
Yes.
to, oh, here is this new cool project that I built, or my dApp necessarily needs something like this. That's the conversations are pretty much limited to that.
Yeah.
Wallets were mainly like an add-on onboarding feature, or mainly like a side project. Nobody's like full force building that from the ground up.
Not that I remember. They probably were, but nothing stood out in all the. So you must know that I spent most of my time at the hacker houses, and with the builders there. So nothing of that sort came there. I may have missed a few, but uh, in the noise that was around, ZK, and all of the other frontier stuff that is happening right now, wallets did not show up as much as I thought they would.
Wait, you mentioned ZK. We should double click a bit on ZK. Very interesting,
I know your
primarily to solve
irritation,
for.
your irritation on ZK you should bring up first before we get to the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the word is just being thrown around massively. We see narrative, someone catches onto it, and then everything either is a prefix or suffix with that particular term, right? And I see that happening with ZK. Primarily, ZK to me as a technology is not, as you mentioned, blockchain native, right? And it is to an extent proven to solve for privacy and solve for scalability. Okay, now. ZK, however, I see it coming across in ZK mining. I see it in like ZK bridging. I see it like, I'm probably forgetting a few other things. And I'm like, okay, if it is mining, why is ZK mining much like, 10x better than any other mining, right? Or if it is ZK bridging, okay, I see why it can be like a lot more, trustless on the other end of the spectrum. But, how are you solving for security through ZK bridging as well, which is still the fundamental problem with bridging, right? So on the ground, I'm assuming you must have seen a lot of ZK-based activity, probably one of the key narratives. But does it feel a bit hyped, ZK itself, or am I being like, bit cocky in like saying that?
I think you hit the nail on the head that it was. You said privacy and efficiency, right? I would flip it around. What excites me is efficiency and then privacy. I think as crypto bros living in a echo chamber, we like to believe that the world wants privacy, but for the most part, the average user does not care. They perhaps care more about convenience, which may be a function of the efficiency gains that they can get by using a technology like ZK. The most impressive ZK project that I saw was HyperOracle. If you guys have seen Sequoia's recently led around in them, they are a ZK-based middleware, which essentially gives you an RPC provider and an indexer. But the way that it transacts with the app layer and this backend as a service is using ZK tech, thereby many orders of magnitude more efficient than using Infura and the graph, or Infura and Covalent, or Quick Node and Covalent. You name the combination, right? It would just work much better because of it, and that's what gets me excited about everything ZK right now, because the whole point is to increase throughput, make blockchains more scalable. And if this technology allows you to do it, that is probably what, as investors and resource allocators, both talent, time, money, we probably should be looking at, the efficiency that ZK brings in, as opposed to just the privacy bit of it. apart from that, the ZK prefix is not only with the products that are building there, it is also with people. So I went into a so we met a few friends, and there was a Polygon something going on somewhere, and then everyone was like, hey, let's go meet some ZK Jeets. And I'm like, what? They're like, what is a ZK Jeet? And it is apparently an Indian dude who works on ZK.
The first
And
time I
then,
heard this was from Moy
yeah,
last year. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm like, wow, that's a thing now. It's a ZK Jeet. So maybe
See,
we
they've
should
added
do
the
that.
prefix ZK to Jeet as well now.
Yeah, the ZK as prefix is immediately one more zero as suffix in valuation
Yeah,
of whatever you're building. So,
yeah,
so yeah, I understand your irritation as a VC, but I am cautiously excited about it, dude. Like especially with
yeah.
this whole ZK AVM
Definitely, definitely.
uh, that is coming out. I
But
want to see
do
whether
you
it lives
do,
up to its promise.
do you see any sort of disconnect in say what say the builders are building and what the consumers are demanding? Because you mentioned that consumers don't care about privacy; they want convenience, but builders want to keep privacy at least as some sort of tenant within building, right? So, and you were there at all of these hacker houses. Do you and you know what consumers want, or at least probably do. But what do you think? Is there some sort of disconnect between say building and demands?
Hard to say right now, right? Like because I don't think there is widespread proliferation of like ZK products in the market.
Hmm.
So the only way to ascertain what I just made as a statement would be a non-ZK product and a ZK product, and then people still using the non-ZK product because it is more convenient, right? The idea is that what I mentioned to you is what we are currently anyway doing, right? When I enter a housing society in India, I'm happy to give you my name, my photo, my email ID to be able to go see my friend, right? Why would I want to not? Why would I want to? Why would I, as somebody who's getting all this rich data anyway, want to move to a ZK solution right now if the existing technology stack scales? So my statement was made not from a blockchain standpoint; it was made from a pre-existing behavior standpoint that I don't think most of the world cares about privacy because we are happily giving it away to most people in return for a service, right? Uh, Having said that, there was a one project that presented in our demo day was this company called OutBID. So they were essentially a ZK layer that stands in between your government ID proof and places where you have to show it to prove your identity or prove a particular parameter of your identity. Like I am 18 years and above. I don't need to see your entire passport. There would be a ZK processor that sits on top of all the passport data that just tells you whether it is true or false. That
But
way,
that is ZK. Why does it need blockchain though?
it doesn't, which was one of the questions that we
Yeah.
asked there, right? But also, their whole thing was that now you would have a traversable identity that is stored on the blockchain that can now move around without the need of your original documents. So
Right.
there are these interesting use cases. But at the same time, I'm just thinking of I'm just thinking of countries that have the highest stamp for something to use, like China, India, which are largely more tending towards wanting to know more about their citizens uh, uh,
Mm.
at the business layer, at the governance layer. Why would I want? Why would I want to use this tech? Was another question that essentially came up there. So
Yeah.
OutBID was not like a privacy layer; it was more of an identity play.
Yeah.
That set parameters required for accessing certain services, which can only be proven by government ID cards, are now available as proofs, as opposed to me, showing, showing the actual identity. So
Yeah.
but then you also start to see, right, like the builder of such a project is a 23, 24-year-old who is full of idealism
Yeah.
and has perhaps experienced uh, software as a service in the Web3 world only, right?
Mm.
And how the real world works perhaps is dramatically different from
Yeah.
there. This is not just true for ZK stuff, it is true for most of Web3, right? Like
Yeah. True.
my job is evaluating these projects at a super early stage. And most of the time, our startup team or me, when I'm sitting on that panel, is just asking, like, who wants this, right?
Yeah.
And then when you break it down, it's perhaps that the worldview of this young builder is perhaps not tempered with what is actually happening in reality. So that expectation mismatch between what is building and what people actually want is pervasive through Web3. It is not just
Yeah.
a
And
ZK thing.
just one point there, no, Akash, that's a great question actually. And if you look at ZK-EVMs itself, right, which is this scaling solution on Ethereum, okay? There are teams that are building it with a ZK vision, like your Polygon Hermes and your ZK Sync, etc. But there's this alternate teams also that are building using optimistic rollups, which has nothing to do with ZK, right? That is your Arbitrum and Optimism. Now, if you ask me as like a mainnet user, right, I am primarily looking for cheaper fees and faster throughput. And Arbitrum and Optimism can provide me this today, right? Now, and today we are not solving for billions of users and like billions of transactions, and this is okay for me, right? And it has allowed them to come a lot faster to the market and also capture a lot of mind share and also traction. Now, EVM can provide you much better layers of, much better scalability than, optimistic rollups. And even, Vitalik has kind of mentioned that this is the end state. But it's not easy, right? ZK EVMs, building them is like a lot more technologically challenging as well, right? So they will get a better product, hopefully. We haven't seen any of them on the mainnet. But is it sufficient? Is it necessary for them to go to that levels of pain for the type of, to miss out on the market that Optimism and Arbitrum have captured today, right? So you can say these guys have been smarter. They have identified what the problems are and they just went after a solution which was sufficient for today, right? Maybe ZK is kind of like more for the long term better, but for the short term, we are having like better solutions, not better solutions, but products that are addressing the immediate concerns.
Mm. Yeah, man. The ZK thing is, I feel like more people who speak about it don't entirely understand what it is about. So that's its own conundrum in itself, and the use cases I'm slowly starting to see right now. But yeah, if you're building a crypto project and raising some money, add ZK in front of your name. You may get some.
In terms of themes, right?
Prashant,
Like
Prashant will be a little more interested in you if you do.
in terms of themes, right? Like again, another topic that was hot was like Web3 terminals, anything that allows you to onboard into Web3. Like wallets are one, and lots of people are building mobile wallets. Is there, and of course Solana has the Saga phone. Was there any chatter of like Web3 terminals, easier way to get in? Because app stores are a big problem for people trying to launch Web3 related apps.
Surprisingly, not as much as I thought it would be. I think on the back of the Solana phone, I thought there would be a lot more cool things that would have been built. I think both BD and Sai said this really cool thing about how who are both Akshay BD and Sai Krishna from Cope. And they both spoke about how the purpose of the phone was to inspire, to show what onboarding can be if when a native platform like this as a user onboarding terminal was available. Surprisingly, I did not see much. Probably also because I wasn't at the Grizzlython pop-ups that were happening. I probably will go to one happening in New York on the 9th. That's today. I will I'll probably go check it out. I'm quite sure that there will be some interesting things happening there, but I did not see as much activity in Denver for the same.
That's surprising. I thought there would be something because again the app store problem with Uniswap, right? And I think someone at 1inch mentioned that they tried to launch an app, and they said that the app store really kicked their butt, and they wanted a Web3 terminal. And a bunch of Solana people sort of joined in and said that you can use this in the Saga phone, but that is also Android powered, so I'm not sure how that would work.
Yeah, me neither, dude. Also know this, okay? Everything I say about Denver is like from my eyes. There were 30,000 people in and around the venue. So it is highly likely that I may have missed out on a few things like this, but nothing really stood out. I was in most of those interesting circles, but yeah, nothing really stood out from that standpoint.
We'll put this as a disclaimer.
Yeah, yeah, please do. And I also run a poll. Was Raghu right? And then
Also,
all of
Raghu, at some point, this entire narrative within crypto has to flip from infra and middleware to like consumer apps, right? That is what everything is consolidating towards. And So is that something that you saw any cool projects around building consumer apps? Because okay, fine. I'm not particularly surprised because there aren't as many consumers yet, right? So why would you
That's
build
true.
an app for them? Yeah,
Also
okay,
because infra has not been comprehensively solved, which the gap between theoretical limit and actual limit of all of these chains is like dramatically large.
yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
one's really been tested on any of these things, and
Correct.
apart from payments, there is no killer app in Web3. So
Yeah, and
I
see, I mean, also even as we were speaking to Sai, right? There are a lot of things, even from a hardware standpoint, compute standpoint, that needs to improve for us to reach those theoretical limits as well. And a lot of them are like pushing boundaries of physics, so they will not happen quickly, right? So we have to kind of get to compromises and do a lot of things off chain as well, And I think there'll be a lot of mix and match for the next wave of consumer apps.
you're right with respect to that metaverse story. You're right. But have you seen Tearing Spaces by the Sino Global Games guys?
No,
So Sino Global Capital has launched a game studio within their
yeah, with
venture
Polygon,
arm,
right?
and they've launched a game called Tearing Spaces. It's actually a legitimately decent game, man. Like, I was quite surprised. We got like the beta and all,
Right.
portfolio company privileges. So
Yeah.
we, so I played it. It's it's fascinating, dude. It's actually, I'm like, how are you doing this? How does this work? So
Yeah.
maybe one of the guests, we should get them on board as guests and have a proper
Yeah, we
sit
should
down
get.
on,
I'll ping Wish for access into this, anyways, regardless. But
yeah.
yeah,
I'll
we should
send you
do
the
that.
zip. I'll send you the zip file, mate. Last
Yeah,
time.
yeah, please do.
I
And
wish
then I'll
also
give
probably
Wish some shit. I'll give him some shit.
yeah. Yeah, but no, I really like what's happening there. Gaming, if that is a caliber of game that we're talking about, could be one of those. Let's onboard the next, 100 billion users, you know, on board. That may
Yeah,
be that may be interesting. Yeah, Sino guys were there at Denver as well. It was quite nice. Nice seeing
nice.
them there.
So you were there at these conferences like a couple of years ago, right? So any themes that you saw then that you didn't see now?
A lot less scammy. It's it's a lot less scammy.
A bear
Uh,
market does that, man, which is good.
in general, dude, we've been to bear market conferences before this as well. What
This
are you
doesn't feel
talking
like a bear
about?
market, huh? From the type of bear markets we've been used to,
Yeah, because more builders are around, no? Builders don't have bear markets.
Yeah, and
It's
we are still
only
awash with liquidity, man. We still have way too much money in the system,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
wasn't the case last time.
the founder of Woodstock says this a lot, right? Like, until blood is on the streets, bear market has actually not arrived yet.
Yeah, and
So
there is no blood on the streets yet.
yeah.
Even
Yeah,
from a
Any
so
macro
legit
standpoint,
themes?
everything in
yeah,
what? Sorry.
yeah.
Any legit themes that you saw, like of course the scam ones, the sort of overblown metaverse or projects that don't require a metaverse or a game or an NFT, those have probably not been there. But any legit things, any legit themes over the
Dude,
past few years?
the fact that the conversation is now about, hey, what are you building? What will people use? Is this really necessary? The fact that we are even talking products right now is a massive shift from what it was in 2017 and 18. 2017 and 18 is buy this token, buy this, subscribe to this ICO. Coin go moon, send news
I'm
when pump.
uh, I'm I'm kind of using my butter knife, cutting across everything and asking who will pay for this and how much will they pay for this? Is it too early?
It is too early, but at the same time, if you asked this 3 years ago, you'd have been laughed out of the room. At
Oh
least now
yeah,
people, at least now people engage in a conversation, with
yeah.
you. So yeah, man, I mean that has been the biggest change. And the number of just standalone cryptocurrency conferences has dramatically reduced. It is now, these are turning out to be tech conferences, which
Nice.
happen to have crypto around it. So that's a nice thing. Like look at the biggest conferences that are happening. All of them have a hackathon. All of them have a pitch day. All of them, are about the tech and what people are building.
Were
Uh,
the big, say,
like
like Web2 companies, like, did they pay attention? Like, were they there? Did you meet anybody from, say, Amazon, Meta,
yeah,
or something?
Amazon, Meta, Shopify, Visa, everyone was there. Everyone was there. Hell, we had people from the SEC also walking around.
They were there for probably different
The-
reasons.
no, they were
Hey,
quite
they
interested.
all
Like they're quite
yeah.
interested in
Because
the
I
tech, man. India, for example, has the RBI has a research wing called IDRBT, and those guys actually are researching blockchains much more than whatever. In fact, there's the doctor NV Narendra Kumar, who we worked with quite closely at when I was still doing Lumos, and that man will walk circles around any you know top blockchain thought leader in our space, because he knows how this works. He knows its limits. He knows when this will break. And my reason for actually being bullish about Bitcoin was he had an answer to everything, not being legit except BTC. He said whoever designed BTC did it exceptionally well. Like I have not seen this elegance in system design in my life. Like that, this is definitely something special. So yeah, to answer your
Alpini.
question, well, okay. So, anyway, to answer your question, the Web2 guys are here. There is a lot of, there is a lot of conversation around how they can use blockchain and NFT and crypto in their system. Hey, I saw a couple of telco people, man, who actually
Hmm.
gave me a really interesting use case about how switching between mobile networks has a settlement cost, and can that be done on chain for it to be instant, which was a use case. I am 100% sure that I've seen this as some ICO in 2017 as well
Mm.
that also promised the same thing. But yeah, now I'm seeing those things come to picture. And that's the other trend that I can say. Everything that people were talking about back then, there is at least something to show for right now, which happens at these conferences quite a bit.
So in 2018, I used to see banks used to be at conferences all the time. So Goldman, Morgan, etc. Enterprises as well, right? Now I think even the brands are coming in because of NFTs and metaverses. Regulators always snoop around. In my opinion, I think they're always there, which is fair. They have to be there, right? Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah, it's all of the whoever you think should be in blockchain perhaps already is, you know.
I think we can leave it at that. That
Yeah,
was a good wrap up of ETH Denver, and yeah, just now you're at New York. What's the big plan there? Who you gonna meet?
everyone. I'm meeting everyone. No, man, like New York is a really nice, it's a very underrated crypto hub. Everybody still thinks SF. Everybody still thinks Dubai. There is some regulatory rumblings that are going on in the US right now. I think a lot of people are talking about some bill that people are passing in Illinois that essentially wants to create some sort of licensed cryptocurrency um regime, and there is vehement opposition for it from all the industry players, and seems to be that seems to be there seems to be this undertone that there is a regulatory threat for crypto in the US. But at the same time, builder energy in New York is so strong, man. I really love it here. Everyone's building something cool. Everyone, and in general as a community, I feel like this is very open and collaborative. That I really don't feel like an outsider here. Every time I come here, people are super welcoming. People want to know what you're building, and then people are more than open to introduce you to other people that you should meet here, and all of them very high quality, very relevant for for what I want to
Good stuff, man.
do. Yeah, Prash, missing you. You should have come here.
Yeah, I know. I should have. Boomers have certain other restrictions at times as well, as you can appreciate.
I can
So this time I
imagine.
couldn't make it.
I can imagine. Yeah, conferences will happen every year, dude. So
Yeah, I have to actually be in Chennai for a few days as well.
damn, going back to roots, huh?
No, I'm more of a Hyderabadi than a Gult than a Tam. We are still recording. I shouldn't have said that.
No, we'll cut this when you end the topic about New
No.
York.
Say it.
Nah,
Say
it's
it.
fine, man.
More
It's fine.
fun.
It's fine.
Akash, how are things in Bangalore?
It's going well, man. Like there are no events right now because everybody was at Paris, then they went to Denver. But yeah, things are just quiet here, which is good.
Bangalore events also have just lost, quality. Like I feel like we have way too many sundowners and way too few hacker houses. I feel like we need to have
Yeah, that's a gimmick
more of
now.
that.
Mm.
Yeah, we need to have a lot more hacker houses. We need to have a lot more pizza meetup and code type of conversations. I wish we had that.
Why not
Fuck, man,
organize
I'm
one? We
becoming
can
one
do
of
that.
those people. I will. Every Friday there is an open house that happens at Builder Stripe's office. You can head over there.
Oh, for
You'll
sure.
find people randomly just sitting down, coding, building something, taking advice, doing VC pitch meetings over there. Talking, doing user study and all of that. So it's actually quite nice, and not a lot of people go there. So, and this is, I mean, I'm at this point, I'm shilling, so you can feel free to stop me. But my focus, Parin and I, our focus right now is to do the unsexy conglomerations, right? Builder circles that we do is not more than 6 unfunded founders with no booze, no pizza, just come down and bond, right? And this is happening across 10 cities all over the world. I want to make sure that it happens across 100 cities this year. There is obviously residual benefit for Builders Tribe, Build.so, so a lot of, all of those things happen. But these bonds really, and you should see the notes that we get from there. Okay, like one founder had actually handwritten a note there and took a photo and sent it to us saying, I felt listened to, and things that I could not share with my parents, I could share with entrepreneurs who are going through the same
Nice.
journey, with me. Those are the kind of things that I want to facilitate. And you probably won't hear about this if you're not in the right circles, and that's by
Yeah.
design. It's to make sure that uh, the focus is on the right things, and that's why there's builder circles, there's the open houses that we do, there's the analyst collective that is currently happening where students are learning how to evaluate and support a Web3 startup all over the world. There are about some 400 students that are going through this right now. And then there is a data collective where people are trying to break down, on-chain data and build cool hacks on top of it. So it's like 1 week learning, 1 week hack, 1 week learning, 1 week hack. So I am doing it. It's just not a lot of people are interested in that. So the audience set is too small and they don't talk about it, which is cool. I think that's what it should be.
Damn, that's pretty cool. I'd love to drop by at one of these.
Yeah, go to the open house. Open house is a good place to go in there just to get a vibe of what's going on.
Definitely. Cool. Thanks, man.